Good Lord. The record button, the start record button is my worst enemy.
Because he is. I like what he's trying to do. I just have a fear that there's going to be. You're going to run your hand dry so quickly in piloting based decks, which is kind of what he's strongest in. Because he needs the odd cost, but he also needs to stay on curve. Hey, out of here, girlfriend. I'll say goodnight in just a second. Once.
I'll say bye.
All right. Arya says goodbye.
Bye-bye, Arya.
Yeah. So I got to go talk to him in just a second. But I think he's going to bleed your hand dry. And then by the time he gets his flip turn, he's not going to have enough good stuff to actually play. And that's my concern with him.
All right, Matt, what you think?
I'm kind of in the same boat. When I saw him initially, I was like, oh, this leader's going to be a problem. But as they showed things like Poe and all the other leaders in this set, he's kind of okay. But I think he'll get better over time when there's like a critical mass of odd cards that are playable and actually good. Because right now, you're locking yourself out of Bamboozle because it's even. You're locking yourself out of Spark because it's even. Lando's Falcon because it's even. There's just a bunch of cards he just can't play if he wants to play around his ability.
That makes sense. All right, so there are.
I think what I was seeing batted around was running the 2-cost pilots that you can play for one. So it's like or maybe it's the other way around, sort of thing. So it's like they count as an odd while they're on the field, but in hand they're even. So yeah, you're locking yourself out of, like you said, some of the power cards. Cunning would be a big one. Yeah.
Surprise Strike even. Yeah, there's a lot of cards that are even cost that you just can't play in the deck until they have an equivalent in odd. But I think the leader will get better over time. It's just maybe not this set.
Yeah, I think, Kilian, we chatted about it last time where there was a archetype in Star Wars Destiny, the previous FFG card game, where it was all based around odd cards in the deck. And it was always fun, but the Night Sister deck was very inconsistent because it led to some weird sequencing of how you had to play cards because you weren't on curve all the time.
So are we thinking like the new Han Solo is kind of like the Flip Palpatine? It's just going to be awkward, clunky, kind of weird interactions that just don't pay off quite as well?
For a time. Like I said, I think once we hit a critical mass of good odd cards, it'll definitely go up there. But I think for this set, from what we've seen so far, maybe not this set, but maybe in a set or two down the line, it'll start popping up more often.
So we'll get right up to like set 6. We'll hit that critical mass. Han Solo will be somewhat good, and then we'll have the rotation hit and go down to 4, and then it'll be trash again. All right, quick debate between you guys. The two biggest deployable leaders as upgrades and pilots. We got Luke Skywalker and his jam versus Darth Vader. And I know which side I'm leaning on. I'm very much interested in which side you guys are leaning on between those two. If you just had to play those two, like you're drafting, and you got 2 Lukes and 1 Vader. You know what I mean? Or something like that. Which of these two do you feel have the strongest playability? What colors do you match them up with? And what do you see as abusable combinations? Matt, let's start with you on this one.
Pulling up Luke on my screen right now. This upgrade can't be defeated by enemy card abilities. Attached leader unit. If it's a fighter, it gains on attack, maybe a 3. And then what does Vader do?
Vader's got, when deployed as an upgrade, create 2 TIE Fighter tokens. On his leader side, though, he says if you attack with a non-token vehicle, so any kind of air unit, create a TIE Fighter. So you're creating little 1/1 flyers every time you attack with a flyer or any vehicle. And then when you flip him over, he's a 5/5 versus the 4/5.
I'm gonna lean towards Luke on this one.
Leaning towards Luke on this one.
He inherently has anti-control deck synergy because he can't be defeated by abilities or enemy card abilities.
All right.
The only way to get Luke off of a unit would be the new eject card.
Well, you got eject. You also have the what is it? Bamboozle.
Bamboozle your card, man. I thought.
I think Bamboozle says target non-leader though.
Does it? Okay.
Most of the bounce ones do.
Bamboozle does hit leaders because I've used it in Lando against Sabine.
Okay, then you got Bamboozle.
I think Bamboozle gets rid of it.
Okay.
Because you're not defeating the upgrade, you're like bouncing the unit.
Right.
There was something.
There's that. Vanquish actually still works. It just destroys the unit. It doesn't.
Vanquish can't hit. Rivals Fall would hit it.
Why? You're right. Rivals Fall. Sorry, Rivals Fall. You are correct because the Vanquish says non-leader unit, doesn't it? Yeah. But yeah, things like Rivals Fall would still hit it. And my big argument was with Rivals Fall being a 6-drop and these guys flipping on 6. I have there's a lean that I have towards the two of them, but I'll hold that to my last thoughts here. But so you're feeling more of the Luke because it protects itself, makes it a little bit harder for direct removal of the Luke. And if you put it on like a decent unit that I can't think of anything other than the Lurking TIE Phantom that has the can't be defeated by spells or abilities, right?
The new Chewie gives it, and a couple of other ones.
New Chewie gives it, okay. So maybe like a green Luke where like you throw a Chewie on it, and then you throw the Luke Skywalker possibly.
Yeah, I think green's the way you go with that because it's already red. You get access to red 3. I think it's red 5.
ECL.
Yeah, ECL. So you can turn this to an aggro deck that is inherently, and it has the Rebel tag and the Force tag. So even if you wanted to play it in blue, that I think it's a 2-drop Padawan fighter. If you have a Force upgrade, it gets +1/+1 or something crazy. Mm-hmm. And this is the only upgrade that I've seen that's Force for these two units in particular that I've seen that have the Force upgrade tag. So it has good traits. It has a good inherently can't be defeated by confiscate, Fang Fighter, aggression, all the upgrade hate. But then it also has, if you attach it to a fighter, it deals 3 damage to a unit on attack.
Yeah, I definitely like the 3 damage to a unit, and it doesn't like restrict you to space units or something like that. That is really nice and gives a lot of flexibility to that. And we have seen a decent amount of fighters come out. We've got a critical mass of fighters right now, I think, that can make this work. So I definitely like where you're going. I definitely think green's the way to go too, because I feel like you got to get out in front of the Vanquish. Or, I mean, the Rivals Fall. Sorry, I don't know why I keep trying to make Vanquish Rivals Fall, but I'm doing it.
Word.
Yeah, it rolls off the tongue better. But yeah, you definitely got to get out in front of the Rivals Fall in both scenarios. And Zach, so you're feeling Luke over Vader yourself?
So if I were to pit the two against each other, I think Luke would win that battle. Just because ping damage and stuff is going to kill off all the tokens. But if I was going to say which one is going to see more play, I think Vader will see more play. But that's not necessarily because it's a better card. I think it's because it does something different than many other cards. Whereas I think what Luke is doing is done better by Sabine and by Poe. I think he's trying to be a slightly more mid-range aggro, but predominantly space. And Poe does that just so much easier. So I think if you had to choose a red heroic leader, you're going Poe or Sabine. But if you wanted to have, a token generation deck, there's nobody else who does it but Vader. And I think Vader kind of fills that Tarkin area where Tarkin was kind of spamming and low to the ground Imperial units. This does that, but like so much better. I've already, thought up a couple of different builds we could do with Vader. I mean, you could do running with, just kind of low to the ground, buffing up your guys with XP tokens, a real wide swarm of ties. Or you can go the exploit route and try and use them for fodder to try and bring out something bigger. I think both of their effects are good. I think both of them are really strong when they deploy as well. Luke's obviously stronger, I think, on the deploy because of his protection. But Vader has less competition. And so I think that's why people will play him versus Luke.
Right on, right on. My only lean in is on Vader because of the Lurking TIE Phantom can be played with him if you play him, pair him with the yellow base. And I think that if you put Vader on a Lurking TIE Phantom, it's just like so big and so hard to deal with. And you also have the ability to kind of tempo with all the yellow cards out there, like waylay and bounce and no good for me, no good to me deads and all that kind of stuff. Along with being able to throw out your Overwind Barrage and stuff like that in that same colors. It is definitely, I think both of them are mid range for sure. I mean that anything that's over 5 seems to be a mid range leader. So that was kind of interesting. I want to get y'all's thoughts between those two. Another one, if you got time, Zach, if you got a dip, just kill the feed.
Yeah, I got a dip. My daughter's right here. I think Boba Fett, he's good. I think he's going to be a lot of fun. I think indirect damage is going to take a lot of balancing to make it. It runs a fine line between being either too strong if you bump it up too much, or or useless if it's too low. So I think indirect damage is something that good players can play around. So you got to be careful with it.
Oh yeah, I watched somebody put 14.
I like the deck. It looks fun. Red yellow is going to be annoying. As
always, red, black, yellow has always been, Cad Bane. Anybody ever heard of that guy? Django. Yeah, nobody, anybody. But yeah, it's going to be another just stupid summer of Boba Fett.
Well, I got to run, guys. But yeah, good chatting with y'all. And yeah, we'll have to do this again soon.
We'll try to run this one more time. Maybe with me hitting the record button. That might be a good idea.
Do Grandline or anything this weekend?
Yeah, Friday, Saturday, and probably Sunday for gun. So
there you go.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
you're buying in on that hype, huh?
100%.
Yeah.
He's loving him some Gundam. He's got the decks and the proxies.
Yeah, I need one.
Is Grandline the only one that's running it right now?
No, the final round's going to do it too.
Grandline is the premier, though, like Bandai shop though in the area. Like they are definitely the shop for Bandai products. In my personal opinion, I mean,
no, that's definitely it. Because I think they're doing Tuesdays, Sundays, and the final round I think's trying Fridays. But I don't know if they've settled on that yet.
That'd be interesting because Friday's usually been kind of Magic the Gathering's little niche, time with Friday Night Magic. But
I was gonna say it's I usually hang out with my good buddy Jack Daniels and my friend Jimmy Dean.
Those are good buddies.
Jimmy Dean. That's in the morning.
Sausage patties and whiskey. Huh?
Jimmy Dean's in the morning with the coffee, and Jack's at night. Yeah, with a hot toddy. All right, Zach. Thanks for joining us.
Later.
Matt, how you looking on time, bud?
I don't got anything planned till like 9 o'clock.
So let me ask you about, I guess, the bases here that we got.
Is there a way I can make this one bigger?
This is 3 more cards in your starting hand, but then you have to discard 3 cards when you to the bottom of your deck in any order. Now, you do get to put them in any order at the bottom of your deck, which doesn't really matter, I guess, in this game. But looking at 9 cards versus 6 to start with and only costing you 3 life to do it.
I think it's good in some decks. Definitely being able to see 3 more cards. Like, for instance, Luke, if I, for some reason, don't have the Alliance Dispatcher in hand, I can get him. Well, more likely get him by going 3 deep, as opposed to 2 turns later, I draw him. I'm like, oh, you're useless now. Right to resource.
Yeah, because like 9 cards is basically what? Almost a sixth of the deck?
Yeah.
You know? Or no, almost a fifth of the deck. My bad. Be almost a fifth of the deck. So,
unless you sided it cards.
So you're basically looking at almost 20% of your cards? Mm-hmm. That seems pretty significant.
I mean, if you're playing yellow, I mean, I don't think Jeddah City is really worth playing. So
yeah, it definitely has proven itself over time to just not be where people want to go over time. Yeah, just go to a 30-point base and call it a day.
And if you are playing something with Restore or a lot of Sentinels or something, 3 health won't matter that much.
Yeah, the other thing I was thinking about is if you're drawing 9, your chances of pulling together like Tech and DJ are pretty high.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. It could be good in Han. I haven't played I think I played Han 1 yellow once or twice, so I don't know the deck that well. But yeah, I could see finding the combo pieces if there's a combo deck or when there's another combo deck, being able to find the pieces to do what you need to do is a lot of tempo for the game. Especially if you just bottom deck some stuff you're not gonna use or see for that matchup.
Yeah, that could get those out of the way. So we got the minimize your deck size, or your minimum deck size is decreased by 5. So now you can play 45 cards, and I can already see you nodding. Are you liking this one, or?
I actually do like that base a lot.
It seems pretty good for only 3 life off the base to be able to drop it down to 45 cards. Because then you're talking about looking at 20, a fifth of your deck with the other base. Now you're down to 45 cards and you draw 6. We're getting pretty close to 20% again there, maybe even 17, 16%. I mean, I'm sure I could pull out the calculator and figure it out, but, who wants to do all that? Yeah, that's almost cheating.
Yeah, no, the consistency of it is just really good. You're basically taking 5 cards out of your deck that you literally put in there for filler or for a specific matchup that you can just side in for game 2 if you really need to.
Yeah.
But, yeah, just having more consistency, I think in an aggro deck would be pretty good. I think Kylo double red wouldn't mind that base. I mean, you're dumping your hand anyways. What's 5 cards? You're not going to live long enough, or they're not going to live long enough to get to that 5 card difference, really.
Yeah, and only against your most controlling decks would you even care about having 5 less cards in your deck. Ones that are trying to mill you out. So, yeah, I definitely think this one's maybe the best base out of the 4. Maximize your deck size by 10, though, for 33 life. I don't feel like it has the same punch.
I didn't like it at first, but Zack talked me into it with Palpatine.
Okay. What was his?
Palpatine already draws a ton of cards with his ability, with just generic card draw that's already in the color. And having that 3 extra health on a deck like Palpatine against an aggro deck could make all the difference, because I know I played him last week with my Luke deck, and I got him down to 28, and I wasn't even an aggro deck. Or maybe it was 28 or 25. I wasn't even an aggro deck, so if he was going against an aggro deck, there's a good chance that he could get to 30, 31, 32, and then be able to flip it and be able to stabilize to win the game.
Okay, I can definitely see that with the extra life there, and and Palp being more controlling, they can mill you out too. Eventually. Draw 1 less card in your starting hand though for 35. Palp draws so much. Maybe that's an argument to go Palp blue.
I could see it. Yeah, I think the biggest point of that card is the 5 health. The one less card in your hand's kind of rough, but same thing with Palp. If you can just kill your super laser tag, draw a card, you're back to even.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think the 35 health is going to, like, this is what you do not want to sit against if you're playing Sabine. Like, you do not want to, I don't care how many cards they don't get out of their hand. 35 is such a high number to get to.
Yeah, on the flip side, though, it makes your force throws from your opponent a lot more potent because they can't just toss with their cheap unit out unless they have another cheap unit,
Okay.
which means the rest of their hand is kind of not good or too high curve at the moment. So it can give you information and just go instead of trying to control them out.
No, that's a good point because, you know, they're going to want to keep the good stuff. And, yeah, that's going to just make force throw just that much more amazing if they decide to play that base. Director Krennic, tell me where I'm wrong here. This is Crafty Smuggler with better wording.
The first unit you play each round that has wind defeater ability costs one less. I like it. The shielded part especially. I think Crafty Smuggler is just generically good because it's just mono yellow with a shield, a 2/2, whatever. It's good. It can survive a hit. It can trade back. But this one had with that extra wind defeated ability, making him cost one less. It just depends on how you build your deck. I think we've seen a few so far, but depending on how many more we see, especially in villainy in general, it could be a really good card. But that's not something I'd want to drop on turn 1. That might be something I want to drop turn 5 or 6 later on into the game. Because if you're already in blue villainy, game's probably going to go on a little while anyway.
So I was seeing this in a list where they were straight like aggro or almost mid range. They didn't bother with it was mostly units. Of course, almost every one of them said when defeated. It was paired with red, so it was aggressive, and it was things like Ruthless Raider, and it was paired with is it the new Krennic leader that has?
I think it's Thrawn.
It's Thrawn. Yeah, it was paired with Thrawn. So, like, a Ruthless Raider coming into play would only do 2 and 2, but then when it died, it would do 2 and 2 and then 2 and 2 again. Mm-hmm. So,
I think that's just a Ruthless Raider issue. That card is nuts.
Yeah, well, this one also was a card they were using. They were coming in. They didn't care if they rammed it into your first turn air unit. They didn't care if it died. And then they gained 4 life back. That's as good. That's almost as good as a client's heal, because a client does 5. It's as good as a top target on a general, like a basic regular unit, a non-unique unit, because it gives you 4 back. So they were pairing it with that as well. And because it's when defeated, it only costs 1. Mm-hmm. And it's a generic. It's not a unique unit. So you could drop 2 of them down in turn 2. Or if you're, let's play Magical Dreamland, you have all 3 of them in your hand with Krennic. You could just Krennic, drop 3. See ya. And it's like,
all right, just slowly fill those off until you have no cards in hand.
Right. And just come at me, bro, kind of thing. And then there's a lot of when defeated triggers that are in this set. Let's see here. I'm just going to grab one here. When defeated, may defeat a space unit cost 3. Yes, crappy card. I don't think this is going to see any kind of play. But that when defeated ability, again, you knock out 2 things for 1. But you can also play this at 6. Now it's a 6/6 for a 6/6 with Sentinel. Now how does that pair up as a space unit?
I still think it's situational because that's saying that your Krennic is still alive.
That is saying your Krennic is still alive, yes. 100%.
Yeah, so you can't drop that and then that in the same turn. So if somebody drops a Krennic, if I have any way to get rid of it, I treat it like the client. I'm going to get rid of it at the earliest convenience.
Just knock it out as quick as possible.
Yeah.
And it dies to perilous position pretty easily. Krennic does.
Yeah.
So that is something to be said. And all of the anti-lurking TIE Phantom cards that are out there, he dies to all those.
Exactly.
Then this guy, Cassian Andor the pilot. How do you feel about this jam?
without even reading it, I love it. But attach unit, discard a card from the defending player's deck. If that card costs 3 or less, draw a card. I think it's a good anti-aggro card.
I think it's great anti-aggro. 100%.
Yeah,
Even against control. A lot of times control decks are trying to play like a 1 or a 2 drop, either upgrade or, like you said, the client or Dr. Pershing. And then they've got the Power of the Dark Sides and, so many cards that are below 4, even in that. Not as many, obviously. But, like if you looked at, the list you had for your Ray Tarkentown or my Sabine, like 85% of those decks was below 3 or 3 and below.
Yeah, they're pretty low. And then even then, there's the upside. You still discard the card. If it's 3 or more, I'm also happy with that. I discard an Avenger but don't draw a card. That's good enough for me.
Yeah, match him up with, Kane and Jarrus, and you're just milling away at people's decks. Yeah, not even having to Cunningham. That's great. Another one that looks really, really good. Red Squadron X-Wing.
I think it's a good Obi-Wan card.
I think it's a fantastic Obi-Wan card. Matter of fact, it was screaming Obi-Wan to me when I saw it. It's like, draw a card and make it a 3/3? That seems pretty good. Yeah.
3?
Yeah.
Swing a red into it still dies. An A-Wing, it still dies. But I drew a card and replaced itself, and then you lost potentially raid 1 to everything.
And then what is the Obi-Wan's space unit that it doesn't it heal a point of damage off of your unit to do a point of damage to someone else's, or I got that backwards?
Actually, I got it right here. Yeah, the Aether Sprite. When played and on attack, you may deal 1 damage to this unit and 2 damage to another space unit.
So it does say this unit. Okay, so it doesn't have the interaction I was hoping it would. The Gold Leader. Now,
I think that is a fantastic card with the new Lando Leader.
I haven't checked it out, thought about it with the new Lando Leader, but I do love the Rebel tag that it has on it. And that it comes out with a shield. That's huge. And then when it's attacked, the defender gets -1. I mean, like, there's so many great lines on this card. And it's a transport, so what is it? Boba Fett can do something with it. There's one leader that's like...
They like transports. I can't remember who it is either. But yeah, it has a lot of good tags on it. The shield, the -1, it's like they threw a bunch of stuff that blue already does into one card because the Lando Leader flips on 6, I believe, and he gives whatever unit he's attached to Sentinel. So now you have a 10/10 Sentinel in space with a shield.
Let's check out Lando. Lando Calrissian. He flips, gives another. It gives a Sentinel on top of that. Okay.
Yep.
And then gives shield token to a unit in a different arena. I'm not in love with the give a shield token with a unit in a different arena side of the card. But
I'm just the stat line alone and the Sentinel. It's the space Obi-Wan.
That's what I was going to say. That so he's right up there with Luke and Darth Vader as far as like deployable upgrades that are like the highest damage. Having the 5/5 and the 4/5s. So I didn't realize he was that high. But even just a ground unit 5/7 with Sentinel is crazy.
If I'm not mistaken, he is the highest deploy. At least for the set.
Talking about the deploy cost?
Yeah, the 7. So I think he is the highest of the new set for deploy cost. It's like most of them are 6, except for
6, 7, 6, 5, 6, 6, 6. Yeah, I think you're right. So far, I just see 5s and 6s. Yeah, they're all 5s and 6s so far.
Yeah.
So he is the highest one to deploy. He does have a nice body, though. I mean, you can't knock a 5/7 Sentinel.
No, that's almost Vader stats.
Yeah.
Starter deck.
Yeah, and you got to go get him. And then the fact that he gives 2 units Sentinel basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or no, he gives one unit of shield token, the other one Sentinel. Gotcha. All right. And if you deploy him to the ground, he does not get that ability. Okay.
No, he's just a 5/7 Sentinel. I think it's one of those leaders where you have to throw him on a vehicle for him to be somewhat useful.
Yeah, that is very, very interesting. Now, I do think that the villainy side, and this one's not an example of a villainy, but he looks like he should be on the villainy side, right? I feel like they didn't get that great of. Like, can you name a pilot unit that's been impressive out of the releases for that has a villainy tag to it?
No, not off the top of my head.
Oh, here we go. Let's see what this guy says. I mean, he's giving an experience token to another unit. I mean, if you're playing him with Vader, and there's always little units out, but he gives, and he only costs 1 to deploy or to pilot, so that's not too bad for a +1/+1.
1/1. Yeah, 1/1 for 2/2 in stats.
Yep, and then you also give the experience token, so another +1/+1 to something else. Yeah, so I can see where he could make a little bit of action with a Vader unit. I definitely think this card here, the Vector Leader, that gives each friendly space unit +1/+1. I think that's a sweet, like, on curve kind of get there card, because you got the First Order, right? So that gives us, like, what, 3 different 1-drop space units that are in villainy?
Yeah, you got the regular tie, the First Order tie, and I think there was one more.
I think there's one more out there too. But in this one, you got a curve of like this, which is not a unique unit, so you can throw down your multiples of him, right? But you need a token for him to get the raid, and then you curve out into this guy, which is giving you the extra TIE token, right? And then you drop like another 1-drop behind that. And then potentially backing all those up with, well, hell, just let your 1-drop be this guy. The guy we were just looking at. Now you're putting, you're creating another TIE Fighter token. Or, where were we with this guy here with the experience tokens? So, and that only costs 1 as well. So you got a lot of 1 options in your pilots. And then you just come in with this on turn 4, I guess. You got plenty of air units, and now they're all pumped up. And, you're getting ready to come in for a substantial amount of damage with those extra bonuses. It's got a somewhat decent curve to it. I like the 4 defense over the 3 defense that you have from, say, the Red 3 would be a kind of a comparison to this card, in a way.
Yeah.
I
was going to say, it kind of reminds me of a space Dodonna, General Dodonna.
A General Dodonna in space, yeah. 1 less cost, 2 less, but it's in space, and I guess maybe space is still safe. Looks like space is no longer safe, kind of thing. This First Order stuff, do we have enough First Order to actually make a deck that's viable?
I think so, if you go red.
If you go into the red, yeah.
Yeah, the Kylo silencer, the Kylo unit. There was another one. Can't remember the name of it, but it's a low-cost red unit.
I think you're talking about. So we got the First Order right there.
If I was going to play a villainy deck, which I rarely do, it would be a First Order deck, just because I want to play General Hux.
There you go. Yeah. Let's take a look at him. Each other friendly unit gains raid action. If you played a First Order card this phase, draw a card. I mean, he literally just says tap, draw a card.
Yeah. Especially in a Kylo red deck.
That's just absolutely silly. Does deploying your leader count as playing it?
No, I think it just counts as deploying. Because if you deploy Luke, because I've done it on Carabas where I have Maz Kanata out, I deploy Luke, doesn't get an XP token.
Makes sense. And yeah, there's a lot of, there's 4 First Orders right there just on that one line. And then
I think there's a fast unit as well.
I believe there was the first one I was looking at. I believe was up in here. Captain Phasma right there. That was the one that gives that, and then Phasma leaders first order as well. So that could be pretty interesting. Now, a lot of people have been kind of going crazy about this Phoenix Squadron A-Wing.
I think it's a better A-Wing, or sorry, there's two A-Wings now. I think it's better than the red A-Wing into the Sabine mirror. But that's it. I think the other A-Wing is good overall against other decks.
So I see it as a colored mercenary gunship.
Because of the stat line, or
Just because of the stat line and the cost. Mercenary gunship costs 2. This costs, 2. It's got the same stat line, and its negative is that it's colored instead of any deck can play it. So you take away the negative of the mercenary gunship.
It also is a rebel and a fighter, though, so it can be potentially better in Sabine and Luke.
And Luke, yeah, absolutely. So okay, I'm somewhat sold on it.
I just like it better against the Sabine mirror or another ECL mirror that's aggro, because if they try to ECL into it, whatever they hit me with, their red 3, their other A-Wing, it dies and trades.
Yeah.
As opposed to the A-Wing hitting back for 1.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if you're not on the initiative, I'd rather drop this into space and then make them have to make the decision on whether they're just going to go to the base and start racing or lose their unit to my unit.
Yeah, exactly.
And it is got the rebel, so it can go in for 5. Okay, you got me sold on that card. I like it where it's at. Wouldn't be a review without checking out Blue Leader.
You may pay 2 if you didn't move this unit to the ground arena. Oh yeah, that card.
Yeah, that card. With ambush, by the way.
Yeah, you get a 3/3 space ambush or a 5/5 ground ambush, which I think that alone being versatile is pretty good. I don't think it's over the top. I don't think it's crazy, but I think it's good enough.
Yeah, I think the ambush 3/3 space unit is pretty sweet. We've needed something in that zone for a while, for a good bit now. So I think it does well. And the fact that it can go from the air to the ground is pretty cool. So you can lane dodge, that kind of thing. It's also a fighter, so Luke likes it as well. So that's pretty dope. And a rebel. Yeah. So a lot of diversity there. Hey, it's a vehicle too. So it's even Darth Vader would love it if it could be in his colors.
And find it off Prepare for Takeoff.
Yeah, there you go. Another pilot here. I like these cheap pilots. I really do. I like these pilots that are like 1s and 2s and 0s. I like them a lot. Search the top 5 cards of your deck for a resistance card and reveal it. I know about a week ago we talked about this card in the Discord, and there weren't a lot of resistance cards, but it feels like a few resistance cards have come out. Do you still feel like we're too low in resistance cards for this one to have some legs, or is this just kind of a wasted upgrade?
I think it's kind of a wasted slot because I tried playing Mon Mothma that does the same thing for Rebels, but she's a 1/3 for 2. And this is a 2/2 upgrade, I guess, which is good, but if they kill your turn 1 unit, then you're just playing a 2/5 for 3, which at that point I'd rather just play something better.
Like tech?
Like Freedom Fighters for Freedom, Yoda.
Yep.
There's a lot of other stuff I'd rather play on turn 2, but it all depends if your turn 1 playlist.
I think that says enough about him. Like he's it depends card, and that one's to me that already kind of like knocks it down a level from like S tier to maybe it doesn't even fight into A tiers anymore. Another rebel fighter. This costs 1 less to play for each friendly pilot, unit, and upgrade.
I think that's pretty good in the Poe deck.
I think that's ridiculous in the wedge decks too. I've seen some wedge decks that are playing this thing for pretty much free on turn 3. which is
Yeah,
insane.
before they showed Poe, I think Wedge was going to be my go-to, but now I got to go to Poe until he gets banned, and then I'll go back to Wedge.
You think Poe's going to get banned? Do you think that Poe has that kind of power?
I think he's very close to that territory without ever touching the card. But we'll have to see. But that ability's kind of crazy.
I do think this red leader, though, the fact that it makes a 2/2 token, is making an X-Wing, right? And those are 2/2s in space. And well, you have to attach a pilot to it. Never mind. So if you started attaching, R2 into another one, and then if you played, say, red and green together for Poe Dameron, this card kind of fits into there because you can just keep like putting Poe on him, make an X-Wing, eject the Poe. Now you've made an X-Wing and put your Poe on the ground for what? 3? Is it 4 resources? Because the jet costs 2, right? Or jet costs 1.
The jet costs 2.
The jet costs 2. Okay. That makes me feel a little better about life. Because
even then, without the eject, it's still good because you just drop that on.
Yep, right
you have 5 resources to turn 4. You drop that, you put Poe on it, you swing with it, and then what are they going to do? You have a 2 units in space, 1 with a pilot. Next turn, you can just jump Poe to the other one, and then play another upgrade pilot onto that guy and make another token.
And then there's the young Anakin, right? Young Anakin lets you put him on different units.
I don't remember that card. I know it's yellow, but
It was yellow. Okay, I was looking at yellow white. I was looking at red white. My bad. Here he is. When attached unit completes an attack, you may return this upgrade to your owner's hand, then replay him out. So
yeah.
You could technically attack with that unit, bring it back to your hand, and if you continue on, and then for the last move of the turn, you put him back on that X-Wing to make another token, to potentially make 4 tokens, or two tokens.
Yeah, that's something that could happen, but you gotta hope they don't kill Red Leader because it's kind of weak. It's in the same curve as Takedown. It can die to Takedown.
Yeah, but again, this costs 1 less to play for each friendly pilot, unit, and upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
So
It depends on how many pilots and upgrades you can get down before turn 3.
Well, just think about this. The new R2-D2 costs 0.
Mm-hmm.
All those 1-drops that are out there, 1-drop pilots with Wedge, cost 0 to put out. So you could drop out a 2-drop unit and then put a 0 pilot on it, and now this guy comes out on turn 2
Mm-hmm.
with the ability to have a pilot put on him.
My only issue with that is, what are you gonna have a hand after doing all that? Because if they somehow get rid of everything, are you just top decking the rest of the game?
If you're not cheating, you're not trying to win. So you just draw 4 cards a turn. That's all. That's the answer.
Yeah. Let's play 2 villages a turn.
But yeah, I do like the red 3 or red leader. I think it's got some gas to it. Obviously, Chewbacca's just absolutely stupid.
Oh yeah, that card's so good.
A 3 stat line for any upgrade that gives you +3/+3 has already been shown to be really solid. But then it can also be dropped down as a 5/6. I mean, obviously it's on the same curve as Poe, but
can't be bounced by cunning though.
Nope, can't be cunning. But yeah, this is it's pretty sweet, and it's, I think, right where Wedge wants to be, and maybe even where Poe wants to be, because we were talking about Poe. Poe Dameron having a green paired with him possibly, but really Poe. One thing that I could say that might lead Poe into ban territory is I can't think of a color combination that isn't good for him.
Yeah. The only one I'm questioning is maybe blue, but even then, You could probably make something work.
Maybe blue. There's not a lot of air units that are just blue or blue-white. And, well, I mean, you do have all that restore that are coming out of the restorative arcs. Those are a 2-drop, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that would make, and he gets +2/+1, doesn't he?
Yeah, 2+2+1, and he's 1 to pilot things.
So we're looking at a restorative arc. That's a 4/4 coming in the air. That's pretty good. Yeah. So even blue seems like it might be a place that would be good for him. And then you already nailed this guy on the head. I was going to bring him up, but anything that says play a card, draw a card, this pretty sweet.
In a red Kylo deck, so.
Now, what do you think about this one here? The fact that you can ready a unit if they have more space units than you.
I feel like that could go either way with this set because of how many space units there are.
Now, do you think they purposely forgot to put the text including this one on it?
Oh yeah, it doesn't say that, does it? An opponent goes more space units than you. Ready this unit.
I mean, I guess you can't ready it unless it's in play, right?
Yeah, so
it automatically is implied that it's counting it?
Yeah, it would just have to be in play already.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's come in rested by default and then go active.
That makes sense then.
I think it's an okay card.
What do you think about the IG-88?
When enemy unit is damaged, this gets +3. Attached unit gains plus enemy unit's damage. This unit gets... Okay, so it's the same ability.
So any unit that your opponent has a point of damage on it, this thing's coming in as a 7/5 as a unit for 5. That can potentially be ECL'd. Or
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, or the upgrades getting the +3.
Yeah, I was going to say, this might be good in an indirect deck like MOBA.
I was also thinking Django Fett, because it's always pinging and tapping things down.
Yeah, either one of those. Anything that can just like ping anything, throw it on to a unit that has Overwhelm, and then just kill it. Or don't. Just go base. Up to you.
It's almost a perfect card for Django. In that there are about 3 slots, maybe 4 slots in the deck that people kind of keep tinkering with. They've got the on the doorstep, where you get your ready droids. They sometimes put in the Imperial ship that gives a +1/+1 counter to other 2 counters to experience counters to each to a Imperial unit. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like a 4-drop. They sometimes just play a 1 of a mercenary gunship to kind of make it like it's 4 Kylo TIE silencers. They also play like the 1 of can't heal your bases, Confederate Starfighter or whatever it is. But I see this guy sliding in real nice into a deck like that because there's already so many air units to begin with.
Yeah, you can even drop them down on curve, and then next turn play Ruthless Raider.
Yeah,
Guaranteed the +3.
And then you turn him on as a 7/5. Which is pretty sick.
They gotta trade him, but are you gonna kill almost any leader?
Yeah, he's pretty much at 5. He takes out the Anakin Red, right? Anakin Red has a 7 toughness, right?
Yes.
And pretty much every one of the new leaders is at 7. So yeah, he pretty much wipes them all out. Not to mention the Ruthless Raiders doing a couple points of damage itself.
And you can ECL them if they already have damage on something.
Yeah, there's that too as well. So I think he's really good for Django. I have seen some Django green decks that do try to go ECL. But I feel like yellow is the right way because just triple Dark Raid. Just makes sense to stay in the yellow. But I can see this card going into Cad Bane really easily.
You're talking about Django or the new Boba? Because I think Django's yellow, isn't he?
Django usually has Tarkin Town to go red.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so ECL you would have to go green, so you wouldn't be able to play him on curve. But I could see him in ECL new Boba, though.
ECL new Boba, absolutely. The new Boba green, 100%. Because you're setting them up by like, yeah, go ahead and put some points on your guys. Ha 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 ha, no problem, you know. And then you come out with this guy is like, bam, got you.
And he's a bounty hunter.
And he's a bounty hunter. And he's Underworld.
There you go, Cad Bane. Cad Bane pings it already with the ability.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Cad Bane loves him. Not only that, but with Underworld, you have now there are two of them kind of synergy going on. So like you could Cad Bane ping one of their units, then the next turn drop him as a 7/5 and just start crushing from there, you know. And I guess hope they don't bounce it, but you know, whatever. Live the dream.
Yeah. So that was their.
I saw a couple of games they did on the FFG channel live where Devastator was backbreaking with, was it Thrawn? Is Thrawn the one that gives the -2 airships? Piet. Sorry, it was with Piet. And they were playing this for like 7. And they were also playing ramp to get, you know, to like 5 and 6 quicker. And this Devastator was absolutely ridiculous in what it was doing. Because it's like...
Yeah, it's basically an overwhelming barrage with the...
Yeah, overwhelming barrage with a big-ass body and the option of being able to put points on your base that overwhelming barrage doesn't give you.
Yeah.
You know? And then, of course, paired with... it's probably in a straight red... Yeah, this guy here, the planetary bombardment. You know, you're just doing 12 indirect damage. I just assign it all to your base.
Yeah, that's a legendary, isn't it?
That's good.
Yeah,
that is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs right there.
Yeah, that card's nuts.
Even at 6, it does 8 indirect damage.
Yeah.
You know, if you're able to control their ground enough or their units just enough to where they don't have a lot of units to put stuff on. I mean, you're doing 8 damage for 6. It's
double costed, double damage for a cause.
Yeah, it is.
But you don't have to build your deck around all hero with capital, which I feel like there's a lot of capital ships after this.
There's so many capital ships now. They were even playing the 3-drop capital ship with the bounty that your opponent gets to resource the top card of their library.
Yeah, the Outlaw Corona or whatever.
Yeah, the Outlaw Corona. Exactly. That was the one. They were even playing that to like kind of curve into this. And just like, okay, I'll just drop 12 points of damage on whatever turn. Usually it was their turn 4 play. They'd Corona and then do something to ramp. But yeah, that was pretty cool to check out. Then there's one that they've released. I wonder if they have it in here. It's a transport. Oh, this guy. The Stolen AT Hauler. Have you seen this one yet?
Place this unit. When defeated, choose an opponent for this phase. They may play this unit from its owner's discard pile for free.
3 cost, 4/5.
Yeah, so when it dies, you choose an opponent, and for this phase, they can play this card for free from their discard. So if they just kill it, they get it?
If they kill it, they get it.
Hmm.
Exactly.
That's definitely not something I play against the control deck, but maybe?
No, I think this is one of the biggest traps, because, I mean, takedown kills it, you know, all this other stuff. I think it's a huge trap, and it's a legendary.
I did not know that's a legendary. That is a bad legendary.
That is a terrible legendary, and it makes me really feel good about rares. Yeah. Go ahead and eat up all these legendary spots with these crappy cards, and you know I'll get better cards in my rare slots.
This is their answer to yellow being so strong. Just give it back cards.
And then let's see, what is something else here? Okay, how do you feel about this card here? It's indirect damage 3. but it does 0 in combat. Combines well with the Boba Fett, right? The new Boba Fett does a point of damage if you do damage that's non-combat.
I think it's a huge threat turn 1 if you're running target.
Yeah. Yeah, target count.
At that point, it's just a 3/4, and then if they don't put it all on base, you just kill whatever they played.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's nothing they can really bring out turn 2 that could kill it for 4 health in space that I can think of. Like, even a Falcon doesn't kill it. ECL Red 3 doesn't kill it.
That guy.
I mean, yeah, if you want to do that, I guess.
He'll take a bite out of crime. No, but this 4-ass in is huge. I mean, that just says it all right there on turn 1. I don't think there's another unit in space that has that big of a rear end and the ability to do that much damage. Not at 2. You know, I'm kind of struggling to think of something that's on the ground that has those stats.
That would be great in Ray's Target Town if it wasn't villainy.
Right. But another card that could go well in that Vader deck, I'm gonna try to put together. Another great one to look at. Everybody loves this one, indirect damage, right?
That's fire spray.
That's what we needed. We needed another Fet's Fire Spray that didn't say liberated slaver.
Well, luckily this one's only a 4/4 for 4, so I don't hate it.
It also doesn't come into play ready.
Yeah, it doesn't come into play ready. There's
Now,
2 when it comes in, which is it's okay.
If it did come into play ready, would you hate it?
100%.
Yeah, I feel you on that one too. That's great. But yeah, the 2 indirect damage. And then, if I'm not mistaken, if I look at Boba Fett, leader, his leader side, you may exhaust the leader if you do deal 1 indirect damage to a player. This is when you deal non-combat damage. So all that indirect damage is non-combat damage.
So it would deal 3.
So it basically deals 3. Right.
Okay.
So, it deals 3 because we can't deal 2. But yeah, that's that seems pretty strong to me for that card. That it can come into play and basically put 3 points of indirect damage out there. And I think the Boba Fett, if I remember what I just read, said a point of indirect damage also. So it's 3 points of indirect damage on turn 4 or on turn 3, excuse me. And then your Boba Fett's flipping. What was that?
Yeah, then you have to kill it because it's also on attack.
Yeah, that part there I didn't even read. I was so overwhelmed by the rest of what it said that I skipped right past the on attack. Yeah, you got to kill it. You can't let this thing stay on the board, or it just wipes your board out and then eventually smashes your base to pieces. So it has to die. It may arguably be better than the original Fet's Fire Spray.
I can see it being better in a Tarkin Town, just because you're going to say, hey, if you put even 1 damage on anything you played up to this point, Tarkin Town's probably going to kill it outside of maybe like Kanan.
Yeah. And it is Underworld too.
It is Underworld.
So now there are 2 of them. Yeah, might go into some of the big, like a Cad Bane follow-up on this one with a now there are 2 of them. It would be pretty sweet. This guy I think is just going to be, if you're playing heroic, you're going to play R2-D2. Tell me where I'm wrong.
Oh, so it can double pilot.
It can double pilot anything. So you basically can do this onto your turn 1 play with, in your deck that you're playing Poe Dameron in, and then on turn 2 put Poe Dameron on the same unit. Because this allows you to do that, right? Or I guess the Poe Dameron says you can't do it if it already has a pilot.
I don't remember if it said that or not, but if it doesn't, I feel like this would take precedence over it because it's if you attach that first.
Let's see here. Poe Dameron. Flip this leader and attach him to as an upgrade to a friendly vehicle unit without a pilot on it.
Okay, so you'd have to, yeah, so they wouldn't work together.
So you'd have to put this on first, and then you would put your R2 on for 0.
I don't know if it would work that way or if it'd be similar to like 2 of the same unique units, because you have to play the upgrade to a vehicle, so you have to upgrade.
Read that first line right there.
Oh, with a pilot on it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so you can already have the Poe on it. If the Poe's already on it, you can put the R2 on it, but you can't put the Poe on it if the R2's on it already.
Gotcha. I think it's okay. In Poe specifically, just because you're putting all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, you're going to go heavy vehicles, no doubt.
Yeah. Oh, no, I meant like on one unit, because if you're throwing your leader, plate, and 2 on top of that, and they get rid of it, then you've lost the ship. R2's in the discard, and Poe's rested on your field, or on your leader zone. So
they 2 for 1 you?
What's up?
So they 2 for 1 you?
Yeah, pretty much. They 2 for 1 you, and you can't use your leader that turn. So if you're confident you can get away with it, yeah, it's a super strong play. But if you have any kind of doubt, I probably wouldn't risk it. I'd probably try to separate the 2 and then maybe move Poe to that unit the next turn.
Yeah,
but
I can see that.
I think it all depends on what deck you're playing against and what the board state's looking like at that time.
I'm feeling though that like this card can easily slip in. It's like a medal ceremony that you can play before you attack.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's +1/+1 experience counter. You're basically giving it, and then you can swing in still before. You know, you're not playing it at the end of the turn, kind of thing.
And he still has the same stat line as regular R2.
Yeah, and he's a regular R2. What is the Bad Batch unit? It's not Echo, or it might be Echo. That says you can discard a card from your hand if it has the same name as a card in play. Put 2 experience counters on that card.
Oh yeah, it's Echo.
It's an Echo. Okay, it's like the first version of Echo, right?
Yes, the set 2 one.
Set 2. Set 3 had an Echo that was green.
Yeah, it was. If you have coordinate, it gets +2/+2.
Yeah,
it's a 2
okay.
cost 4/4.
So the set 2 Echo. Are we at a point where we have enough, like with the 3 different Millennium or 4 different Millennium Falcons, I guess? It's 3 versions of R2D2. I can't really think of too many more. We got Poe Dameron. It's in like the pilot version and the set 2 version. Are we getting to a point where we have a critical mass where we can use Echo effectively as a pitch a card, put 2 counters on something, surprise, hit you for 2 more?
Yeah, I use it on my Rex deck. I discard the Rex unit to buff my Rex leader by 2/2. And
Okay.
I have a 4/4 restore on board.
There you go. Nice. And then I think the last 2 I want to talk about, well, obviously this one here is the Golden Goose. I think the new Millennium Falcons is money. That +1/+1 for each pilot on it. Again, you play the R2 unit with this guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
No reason not to. But the one I really want to look at before we close out is Sabine's Masterpiece.
That should have been a legendary.
That certainly should have been a legendary. 3/3, 3/3 stats with the abilities of doing damage to a base, giving an experience token to a unit so it can give it to itself in green, which Sabine's already in green, right?
Mm-hmm.
On attack, if you control a unit, okay. Deal 1 damage to a unit or base if you got red, which that's pretty good. And then yellow exhaust or ready as a resource, which that one's pretty sweet, to be honest with you. The ready the resource part makes me feel like you can maybe cheat this like a Boba Fett used to cheat, 1 resource a turn. But
yeah, I think
what do you think?
The strongest of the 4.
Which one?
Yellow is definitely, in my opinion, the strongest one of the 4.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even see the ready a resource. I just saw exhaust a resource because you can throw somebody's turn completely off with just that.
Oh yeah. I mean, how many times have we seen that done with either a scanning officer catching somebody with a tech or somebody just, even if you killed DJ and got your resource back and it was already used, like messed you up.
Yeah, I think the yellow one's probably the strongest of the four, and it'd be easy to pull off because there's so many good 2-drops in yellow. You got Crafty Smuggler, you got instead of 3-1 ambush. If you don't ambush it, you just leave a 3-1 on board. They're like, all right, well, I got to kill this 3-1, or you're at risk of this coming out next turn.
So, do you think this fills in a slot, like takes in, because it's going to be a 3-drop, right? And if Sabine does decide to go air, does this basically take the Fighters for Freedom's place? Does it, what does it knock out of the 3-drop spot to find its way in? Because it's definitely got the Rebel
I think the
tag,
Fighters
right?
for Freedom is probably the first thing I'd get rid of.
I've already been moving them to the sideboard and considering cutting them. So they're not even in my main deck anymore in Sabine. They're sideboard cards. So then I'm sitting there scratching my head on what I'm going to do after that.
Yeah, because you could just drop this instead of the Fighters, and then space is hard. Well, maybe not next set. The space is usually up to the harder to deal with in ground.
Well, even think about this. Let's say you got a Battlefield Marine sitting on the board turn 1, right? Mm-hmm. And you claimed initiative. And so they'd lane dodge you in the air. Now, these are all very niche situations here, right? But this unit you could ECL out into just about any unit, including that 0-4 that we were talking about, the bomber, right? Mm-hmm. He gives himself the experience counter, turn him into a 4-4, and kills it outright.
Yep.
And pretty much kills any 1-drop unit that's in current Sabine right there.
Yeah.
Just with having a Battlefield Marine on the board. So
yeah, and then you got that up in the sky. You got Battlefield Marine you got to deal with too.
Yeah, and even if you don't, it could still. Let's say you had a Sabine on the ground, he still kills the 0-4 bomber because he does 1 point of damage to a unit or a base. So you ping it for a point and hit it for 3.
Yep.
So it's got a lot of angles there. So I see it fitting into the regular Sabine list really easily. There's a straight red-green heroic. But blonde Sabine has always been kind of lurking out there on the edges, just trying to make its, get a little bit of an angle to where it can shoot it, into the corners and start showing up in these PQs. And this is a card that could take it over the top because that ready a resource is huge. But like you said, also exhausting a resource is huge as well. But extra resources we've already seen and can cause cards to be put in suspension. So there is something there.
That I was just thinking Lando too.
Oh my goodness!
You drop this turn 2.
Are you getting ready to go like 0 land Lando, or like you just put 1 resource into play and play 2 drops with this guy out?
No, I was going to turn 4 resources into 6. Just drop Leia, ready a resource, swing with that, ready another resource, deploy Lando, play whatever you want at a smuggle, and then.
Disgusting.
Yeah, it's kind of dumb in any deck you put it in because it just hits all.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to like the double aspect bases. I want 20-point double aspect bases that are just like green, blue, blue, green, yellow, blue, like nothing that's heroic or villainy in the colors. Which I think one day we'll see those. I've been placing my chips on that one for a while now, but yeah, that's pretty much like a nice little peek through of some of the cards. I think Moff Gideon is kind of meh. I do love that Dark Saber. Yeah, love that art.
It's going to be a nice hyperspace.
It's going to be absolutely gorgeous hyperspace. You are absolutely right about that. This is the armor that I'm looking to actually purchase the day after May the 4th be with you. So on May the 5th, I am putting in my order through a shop in New York that does custom outfits because I have to go custom outfit being, the size that I am. I can't shop off the rack anymore, Matt. It's terrible. But that one, I guess Boba Fett's worth looking at here.
I didn't know that was a card.
Doing a point of damage to a unit when you put him in as an upgrade. He only costs 2 to pilot.
That's the transport guy.
And this is the one we were looking for. If it's a transport, it does 2. I don't think that doing 2 damage versus 1 is worth going heavy in transports.
Isn't Fence Fire Spray transport?
The new one is a transport. And then let's see what we got here for the first one. I got a feeling it's a transport too.
I think it's a lot of underworld ships that are transports for whatever reason. You know, they got to carry their bounties back somehow.
Yes, transport. Yep, it is a transport. So he works great with both the Fets, and you know you're going to play 2 Fets with you know you're going to play both the Fets fire sprays, right? I mean, that just seems.
There's no reason not to.
Yeah, no doubt. So I think that's solid. Well, I wish we caught a little bit of our analysis and breakdowns of y'all's games earlier, but again, the record button is my worst enemy, and failed to find there. But maybe we might be able to get the 2 of y'all together again sometime this weekend for a quick little 15, 20-minute recap of that, and then I can splice some kind of video together. Well, there you have it, our first fireside chat with Matt and Zach. Thank you both for joining us for that. We had some pretty insightful takes on all the set 4 cards from Jump to Lightspeed. I'm glad that both the guys were able to weigh in on some of the cards early on, and thank Matt for sticking around to continue talking a little bit of the advantages we might see in some of these new cards. With that said, remember we have our final round game shop event coming up on March the 2nd. It will be a noon fire. It's an hour later than our other events have been. So it gives everybody a little bit more time to come in from out of town. Charles, thank you for joining us in our last event at Grandline Games. Charles was the only Columbia player coming up and representing the mid-state. And you can ask him. We definitely have some decent players in this area that can put up quite a challenge. So we look forward to having players from the Columbia area come down and from the Myrtle Beach area come down and all other areas outside of that. So we try to push this prize stipend up to that $750 cap with the 60 players. Remember, that $750 stipend is divided amongst the top 4. So it is quite a decent chunk of change there if you make that top 4 cut. And then we also have all the prizes and rewards that we're giving, actually not prizes, rewards that we're giving with the player boards. And we definitely have a very good player board standing right now. Noah's still on the top, still the big dog out there. Micah Kilian sitting in 2nd place. That's me. And then we also have Matt now in 3rd place with his win this past weekend at Grandline Games. He absolutely crushed everybody with Ray Tarkentown, including myself. I think he went 2-0 in every match. I could be wrong there, but it just seemed like he knew exactly what the meta was going to be like, and he knew exactly what to bring to beat it. So congratulations to Matt for his 1st place finish and popping all the way up to 3rd place on the boards, which just shows you how easy it is to jump up in these boards. But yeah, final round, March 2nd. We look to have everybody out there. And this is On the Play Games, whether it's day or night. I hope you have a good one, and may the force be with you.